2018, a rumor was going around the internet of a cursed movie that had the power to kill anyone who watched it. Welcome to our discussion of Antrum, the deadliest movie ever made. The curse surrounding this movie is completely made up, but we are legally required to tell you that Antrum is in fact deadly. It's so boring you can die watching it.
It's time for Spooky of the Week!
Spooky of the Threek.
Spooky of the Threek, the third Spooky of the
We
Week.
played our cards right. This will come out on the Threek, which is the third week.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Threek.
The Threek.
The Threek. So we're back. We're doing another Spooky of the Week. This week was my pick, and I'm going to apologize just at the top of this video because
I'm tired of doing videos where we have to apologize to each other. Someone pick a good movie for once.
I've never apologized.
yeah, well you should have.
We're still waiting for that one.
We're still waiting for Kevin to apologize.
Well, you said you
think
didn't
I
want me to
apologized.
apologize, so...
Yeah, neither of them are ever going to apologize.
It's true. Well, thank you for apologizing, dude, because I wanted an apology. Because I am so sick of these freaking found footage documentary horror movies. I actually, my arc, this is what I was thinking when we all saw Antrum, when we did the video before, is that I don't think there's a single good one.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever happened.
No,
Or ever will.
it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
I recommended Anrtrum, the deadliest film ever made, and the reason I recommended it was because I was listening to a podcast that
Roger Deakins went over this movie on his podcast.
Yeah, it was
too?
Roger Deakins. It was a very great podcast. Roger Deakins was like, "It's insane. It was a
This is the best
scariest
shot movie I've ever seen in my life.
No, he turned it off. He turned it off because he was too scared. It's
the deadliest movie.
It gives that little warning in the beginning, and
Roger
Deakins
Deakins turned
was
it
like,
off. He was like, all right, a 5 out of 5 stars.
That was too scary. That was too scary. I got 5
honestly,
minutes in the podcast. They went through it and they were like, "Oh, this is all completely fake. It's viral marketing for a movie." And I was like, "That's interesting." But I was like, "That is the exact same premise as our short film Gottlos, which is a bad short film that we made in 2016." The premise of Gottlos is that there is this old German movie that was cursed because a ritual was filmed in the movie. Two guys are watching the movie, and as they're watching it, they start to be like, "This is a little weird. The movie is not as movie-like as I thought it was." It's so realistic that they're like, "Wait, there's no way in the 1930s these people would be able to like rip a guy's arm off that realistically." The premise of Gottlos and the actual execution start to go off in completely different directions. In Antrum, the general premise of the movie is that there's this old foreign film from like the 1970s.
Russian, I think.
Kind of bounced around. It killed some people that watched it, and it like in the lore of the movie, it burned everyone that watched it at the only public screening it ever had.
It got set on fire.
It got set on fire, and so in universe, it's become this like cult cursed movie, and people are afraid to watch it. And that's kind of the general premise of like the documentary. There's 2 layers of this movie. One is the documentary, and this is it goes the same way for Gottlos. One is the documentary, and then the other is you watch the movie that they're playing. I was lied to, because when I was pitched this movie, I thought that it was going to be more documentary than the movie that you watch. I thought it was going to be structured more like how we structured Gottlos, which is it's more about the people that are now watching it than the movie you're watching. That is not what Antrum is. Antrum is a film that you just watch 5 minutes of people talking about everything I just told you, and then the rest of it is just the movie Antrum. Right off the bat, I felt like, oh, I kind of cheated on the premise. This is less documentary than I was hoping that we'd get into. So it was just disappointment from the start of it.
I had heard of it before it got brought up. I did notice the premise was similar to Gottlos, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
The poster's also similar.
The poster's like it has some of the similar imagery, and so we were like, okay, well, I remember thinking like, oh, well, probably won't be good because every time I see a horror movie that has an interesting idea but it looks cheaply produced, I was like, that's a cool idea. It's probably garbage.
Yeah, I knew it was supposed to fit in the genre that we had created, which was fake documentary / found footage.
We created. Keegan chose. Pretty much the same thing you guys said. Didn't know much, except for what Alex had said.
Hold for the.
What is that?
It's Ruth on her motorcycle.
Oh, I thought someone was mowing their lawn.
Night mows.
What do people do that when we film? This is just like, oh shit. Is it 9 p.m.? Is it 9 p.m.? I have to mow my lawn right now before my parents come over.
What was
Before
it?
they stop filming.
When Alec presented the movie to us, I looked it up and I looked at the poster and the premise and I was like, this is just Garlos. And I was like, did we steal this? And I looked at the day it came out.
came out
and I was
after
like,
us.
they stole it from us.
They stole it from us.
Which immediately intrigued me, where I was just like, let's see how much it's similar and how us hacks. What was I saying? Oh, I wanted to see like
us
hacks and those hacks, like how we
Had
were
the
the same.
same,
You know,
yeah.
if we're us hacks all together making terrible content. Let's
We'll
see
see.
who made the same bad
Here's the
mistakes.
thing: we made the genius idea. I had the genius idea of only making it 7 minutes long.
Antrum, the boringest movie ever made. I will say
The deadliest movie ever made.
it is the deadliest movie ever made because I almost died of boredom.
I think my Letterboxd review was the only problem I had with this movie is that the curse didn't work and I'm still alive. So what is the plot of Antrum?
Antrum.
Antrum. Is it
Antrum or Antrum?
Antrum?
They say Antrum in there.
Antrum.
yeah. I
Which
think
is supposed to be
they
the
say Antrum.
place that Lucifer fell from heaven and hit the earth.
The actual general premise of Antrum, I thought was kind of fun.
No, I actually like if there was no any other of the fluff around it and it's
Yeah.
like this is a movie about little brother and sister that just think they can dig to hell, or they're like
the brother had a dog that died, and he's very sad about it. And he asks his mom, "Is my dog going to heaven?" The mom is like, "No, your dog was bad. He's going to hell." And I was just like, "That's such a fucked up thing to say to a kid."
Maxine, is she in heaven now?
No, Maxine isn't in heaven.
And that's like the catalyst of the whole movie. So the older sister feels bad and takes him to the gate of hell, so that they can put the dog's soul to rest.
So when I watched it, my first thought was, okay, it's gonna be a documentary, and then after it's like 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning.
I wasn't a fan of the narration.
narration is so
the
terrible.
narration's awful.
In 1988, a small movie theatre in Budapest, Hungary, burnt to the ground.
That was
Literally,
literally my
if you
point.
took
It
it-
literally is like Nemesis.
No, my
Literally,
first.
if you took it out and made it text, the movie would be that little section would be 10 times better. Because
The narration is so it's like a toothpaste commercial.
Antrum was this film, and this is what happened.
I was
And
taking
like,
notes.
oh
It is
my God.
cursed, and a fire killed people.
Like, no. You get people who have scary voices.
Yeah, you don't get the Watch Mojo.
The Watch Mojo girl.
Exorcist wasn't just unbelievably scary, it was also nominated for 10 Academy Awards, thus proving the power of efficient filmmaking.
It jumps into the and they're like, okay, now it's time to play the actual movie. And I was like, oh, so it's just a bookend.
Did you think it would cut back? Because we all knew that it was all or that it.
No, it was pretty clear to me after
That it was just going to show the whole thing.
After they ended the documentary section, where it's like, I'm like, oh, this is just a bookend.
Yeah.
This is going straight into the actual original film. I didn't know how long it was going to be.
You didn't know it was going to be 4 hours and 30 minutes.
I did not know if they were going to be like, all right, the actual short film's only 45 minutes, and then they're going to have more bookend at the end. I assumed it was going to be most of the running time after they cut to it. And so then it started, and it had some pretty fucking horrible audio. And I'm like, we're off to a great start. It had a filter, and I was like, oh, this is supposed to be filmed in the 1970s. And they just shot digitally and put a filter on.
Well, that's how you make everything look like it was shot in the 70s. You just take a little filter, you just download
We did the same thing.
film scratch thing, and you put that over it, film scratch filter.
Put some grain on there.
some grain on
Have
there.
your actors wear clothes that are close to the 70s.
Yeah, and there is a lot of hit and miss as far as the visuals go. There are some shots where I was like, you know what, I'm almost believing that this could have been taken out of the 70s movie.
That was going to be part of my thoughts. Is just that, like, some of it seemed really authentic, and some of it.
And then some of it was like, this just felt like someone put a bunch of filters all over this footage. It looks like it's trying to be like that. It's not.
It doesn't look like it was shot on actual film.
Well, yeah.
And so, like, stuff... I don't want to say things happen, because they don't.
No.
But they're, like, just in the woods, and I'm like, all right, is anything going to happen now? Is anything going to happen now?
Yeah.
And nothing really happens up until, like, the hour 10-minute mark. But something finally
something
happens.
starts to happen.
And I'm like, oh, there's actually a plot now. Characters are acting, because for most of the movie, there's no acting.
For the first hour of the movie, it's just these two characters in the woods talking about nonsense.
I did have some compliments for the movie. A Satan statue or Baphomet or whoever it's supposed to be, like a goat demon.
Yeah.
I like that. I assume that was
good.
I assume that was a prop they probably already had. I don't think it was made specially for that movie. I'm not certain.
Yeah, to me it seemed like one of those things where like that little compound that they had, it looked like something that maybe one of those people's a metal work artist or something. It seemed like just something that someone had made. It did look good, but I think you're completely right.
Yeah, well, they had all those like used cars and all that rundown stuff. So I assume that was just a location thing. They probably already had it. They're a metal shop guy. This is like the only thing you'll really recall is the squirrel. It's not a rabbit. It's not a bunny. It's
I did
squirrel.
think it was a bunny the whole time.
Okay, they try to disguise themselves so you don't know that they're demons. They're tricking you, okay? They're lying.
There's just randomly a stop motion squirrel in a scene.
That part was awesome.
And they never explain it, and there's no reason for it to be in the movie.
That was a demon.
No, was it?
So okay, wait. I want to get into this because Kevin is like, do you want to explain your issue with the rabbit?
Yeah.
I mean the squirrel.
Yeah, I loved it.
So yeah, Kevin, what are your thoughts? Because I have a whole thing with where the movie lost me.
I was on board for the concept. I was like, this is an interesting idea. This is a wonderful premise and even a wonderful setting for an idea like this. Because if it's a cursed film, there are parts that's like, okay, it's disturbing that it doesn't fully make sense. And that you don't have all the answers and your brain is trying to piece it together. And then when like the sound would get warped too, like I like that. And then they stopped doing that for a really long time. And I was like, why?
It was just that there's that section after like.
Well, like there's no weird anything.
They're just digging.
until the kid comes out of the water. Then he speaks backwards. I was like, where was stuff like this way earlier? I need more like stuff. Like it needs to be shorter, and there needs to be more consistent weird stuff going on.
Well,
but it lost me. It lost me when I saw the rabbit.
It's a squirrel.
Oh, is it? No, I knew it was a squirrel. I'm not stupid. It was literally like, hey, do you see that squirrel over there? Yeah, that's a demon. And I was sitting, and I was sitting there, and I was like, oh, are they not gonna show it? That's really weird.
Yeah, no, it
like,
almost
for the longest time it didn't, and I was like,
cut to it.
I was like, that's kind of weird. I kind of like that. I'm like, that's a really nice touch. And then they cut to the squirrel, and I was like. I looked around. I was like,
see, Kevin.
I was like, guys,
Kevin was still thinking at this point that the movie could go
over
somewhere interesting, and so it farted in his face.
I was like, what is this? Oh, why'd you do that?
That's why he's so upset about it. So you guys hyped it up for me as like this. You're going to hate it. This is going to be awful, which I did. I won't. I'm not going to sit here and be like you were wrong. I loved it, but I definitely liked parts of it more than I thought I would. And maybe that's just because I was expecting so little from it. The movie is so boring for most of it, and the kid, I don't like. They're doing this thing where like neither of the actors are good, and I think they're
doing this thing.
Well, because I think they would argue that it's kind of intentional. Like they don't like those performances aren't supposed to be.
It's not that they're. I think I know what they're doing. I don't think it's. I think it is intentional. I think they they're like straight up trying to capture what. Like acting was like at that time.
Well, and
especially
how an actor would deliver,
especially for foreign people trying to cast American English speaking roles.
The big thing for me that really started losing my interest was just like there's a really long stretch of the movie where, just like Kevin said, nothing's happening. So the thing that I think the movie's trying to go for is like this fairy tale thing, where it almost feels like, or it's like a Twisted Brothers Grimm thing, where things don't have like really great explanations. It's just like, oh, there's Cerberus, he's there, and
the gates of the underworld are guarded by the ferocious Cerberus.
Does Cerberus come after us for coming here?
He'd have to smell us coming. So as long as we don't smell foul.
I'm gonna go brush my teeth.
They're digging this hole, and as they dig deeper, the sister has told the brother that they're digging down through the layers of hell. And so the movie is structured around each of the layers. And when they introduce a new layer, it's supposed to introduce new concepts. But here's what they forgot to do was actually introduce any new concepts, and each layer just feels the exact, like it's all the same scene.
And the hole's the same size.
The hole's the same size the entire time.
Yeah. So the big issue is they're digging a hole to hell. First off, they don't explain what are the layers.
Yes.
What are the threats they're supposed to face during the layers, or the challenges that they're supposed to be
If they're doing a
overcoming.
fairy tale type thing, that's how you would do it.
Or, as they're digging the hole, they need to have something showing that they have hit the next layer.
that
There
would
needs to be a...
You guys were all talking about where the movie lost you and all that. Literally like 3 seconds in, it lost me.
Oh my god.
Like the more and more the documentary was going, the more I was like, oh no, this is gonna suck so much balls. And then Antrum starts playing, and I remembered Keegan saying, oh, you just watch Antrum. That's most of the movie. And I was like, oh, sweet, it's over. I don't have to watch that god-awful stuff anymore. All these like flaws and stuff, all the boring things you guys were all like, oh man, then nothing happens. I was like, I know exactly how this is gonna go.
They're going to the woods.
It's gonna be, and I was like, this is up my alley too, because I'm impervious to things not happening in movies. It doesn't matter to me.
You do like
if nothing
boring
happens
things.
for an hour, it doesn't matter to me. So that first scene happens, and I'm like, and they're talking about how and all that, and it's like really weird and stilted. It's like not much is gonna happen. I knew it right away. Not much is gonna happen. It's literally just gonna be, let's go in the woods and dig a hole. But like, what do you emotionally and thematically get out of that?
Yeah.
You know, I would say, even though I don't really like this movie, I think I liked it the most out of the three that we watched.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
I don't like any of them, and I was by the end of this movie like completely sick of the documentary format, and I'm like, I hate that we're doing this because I don't like this as a documentary.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. Because I was just like,
What has the Movie of the Week done to us this year? Holy fuck.
I would say it is extremely boring, and there's a bunch of flaws with it. But there's a lot of things I was into. It's got unique concepts. I like the way it was made. Most of the time I like the way it was made. Like if you just were able to remove the documentary stuff at the beginning and end, I think it'd be way better.
It was really, really boring. I cannot recommend this to anyone under any circumstances.
Ever? Under any circumstances?
Yeah, ever.
No, I agree.
Basically, up until like the last 20 minutes, there's nothing consistently happening. I didn't fall asleep. I wasn't looking at my phone. Unfortunately, I was trying to watch this movie, and it was just a slog. Watch something else. Do anything else with your life.
I'm actually closer to where Sam Slade is.
I actually don't like Lake Mungo anymore.
I think he is on something very strong if he thinks it's better than at least Lake Mungo.
I don't know about
I don't think it's better.
You literally said that. I think it's better than the last two.
No, I said I liked it more.
I didn't hate the movie. I didn't like it. Like overall, like when it ended, I was like,
Same.
But I wasn't like, fucking piece of shit. I want to leave. Like it was not killing me to watch it. Just the concepts themselves, I was like, it's just so it's trippy to even think about something like that. To the point where I have not stopped thinking about it. Like occasionally, I will just think, you could just dig a hell.
We've all wanted.
You just dig a hole to hell.
Yeah.
Like it's like we've all consistently wanted to talk about it. So I don't think it's a complete wash. But I would say generally it is not good, and I don't recommend it to like most people. I'd say like 90 to 95% of people should absolutely not see this movie.
I think I'm also on the side that's a little closer to Sam Slade. Like it was really hyped up for me that like this movie was going to be a boring slog, and so when I saw it and like there were elements that I liked, I was like, I'm enjoying this more than I thought I would. It's very boring. But I ultimately enjoyed it more than and there's some things in the ending that I almost really liked, and something that we haven't talked about, but I'm gonna hit on in this non-spoiler thing is that the ending kind of shits in your face, and we haven't gotten to talk about that yet. At least it did for me, because they set up that it's like this cursed movie, and I was like, okay, here's how you make this movie work: is the ending has to be fucking gnarly. Like for a cursed movie, if you're gonna go around saying that this movie kills people, it's like I want something fucked up to happen, because this is a cursed movie.
I was hoping for that.
I see movies all the time, and crazy shit happens in all movies everywhere. So if you're gonna go around saying that this movie burned down a movie theater, I want to see something crazy, and it doesn't.
Especially at the end,
it does not hit the highs that it did, and what irritates me is that it almost did. And I want to talk about that in spoilers, but I wouldn't recommend it. No. So the thing that I wanted the ending to do,
You wanted them to burn that kid.
I wanted them to burn the kid.
Yeah.
They put him in
I
that,
thought they were going
and
to.
I was like, this is badass. I was like, I don't care. Like they put that kid in the oven, and I was like, if they burn that kid, I don't care what Sam Slater Keegan says. This is the greatest movie I've ever seen.
If they burn that kid, if they burn that kid, that would change things.
And like if it's here's how it needed to happen. So the shot is they have that Satan thing, and it's supposed to be like an oven. They set up that they're cooking people in it, and they put the kid in there. And I was like, here's what they should do. is it's one continuous shot. They put him in, they close it, and then it stays on him as he's screaming and burning and dying. And maybe it cuts to her kicking the thing and she's trying to get out and she doesn't save him. That is what the movie should have been. It needed that.
Better yet, it starts with it puts the kid in, it pans out slowly, you hear him pans over in the same frame.
She's kicking.
Kicking, and finally, eventually, she gets out or whatever. She goes up
and she pulls out a burnt corpse.
And she pulls out a burnt corpse, and you're like, that looked quite real. Like they use some actual.
That is
trickery.
what the movie. Well, because to go back to what the concept of Gotlos was, that was like what we wanted to go for in that movie.
And then just hard cuts to that
something
ending.
happens where you see it and you're like, oh, that's kind of more f***ed up than it should have been. The movie needed something like that. When I was so disappointed when they pulled that so what actually happens in the ending is instead the sister is able to kick free of her cage because they made a cage that little girls could get out of. And she goes and pulls the kid out after he's been baking in there for 5 minutes, and he's fine. He's just covered in black stuff, so he looks like Satan. That's kind of what I thought that they were going for, is that he looks like Satan now. And he's fine.
She saves him, she kills the other guy.
I was so disappointed that that's not where the movie went, because we always talk about like how when we watch low budget movies, we try not to judge them by like their budgetary limitations. Like if they couldn't do something and it was just like, oh, that was out of the reach, then I'm not going to hold it. Like the fact that it's in the woods, I don't like, we're making fun of that, but ultimately
they have limited.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter that much. But yeah, I don't fault that. But like when they already have the set piece, like they have the Satan.
You don't even need to cut to a child's charred corpse or anything.
No,
if you just
she just opens
like
it and
Kevin was
screams
saying,
and cries.
yeah, is like. It's a long shot, and then she gets to it, she opens it, and she just starts screaming. And
or
that's
it fades to black, and you just hear her screaming over a fade to black. If that was the ending, that is so much more harrowing.
And that slowly fades into that devil, and shot of the devil again.
Yeah.
Or she even has a weird little ambiguous thing with not necessarily just the dog thing, but she goes on and does.
Or maybe
something.
she stops screaming, and like something
she
like
wanders
that.
in the woods and she has some sort of weird ethereal moment like that, where you're just like, what happened to this person?
Nice.
And then the movie just ends like with a weird kind of ambiguous. He becomes Satan or something. Like
I was like on the fence with just that part. Like they save the kid and I'm like whatever, and then like he kind of like, what is he like? He pets a dog, right?
There's a dog caught in a trap and he lets it out of the trap.
And
then that's where like
see
the credits roll and he turns to the camera or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't he have that other fake out ending?
Well, yeah, they do. Antrum.
Yeah,
that's the end of the movie, and then it cuts to her. She runs back. She can't find the kid anywhere. She goes to the tent, and then she's got the gun
and she's pointing it at.
she's pointing it at the camera.
And
yeah, they should have cut that out.
I did like the moment where they're talking in the tent, and she's like, "I made up Cerberus. He's fake. I made up that Greek myth, and it's just a book." And my friend Tommy Chilton or whatever, my friend Tommy Chilton, I made him up too, and he's like, "No, you didn't. I met Tommy Chilton." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, I met him behind Rite Aid. He was behind the dumpster.
That part I kinda sort of liked.
I know.
Like,
I liked.
No,
So
I like
anytime it showed Satan's hand, like I liked the makeup and effects for Satan. I thought he looked very creepy.
Also, there's something when he goes up to the trash can, there's clearly nobody there in the shot, but then when he comes around the corner, there is somebody there.
Yeah.
I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but that was a cool little thing.
Yeah, that part was cool. I like that.
There's something so scary about. There's a thing out by a regular dumpster where you go all the time.
Yes.
Like broad daylight.
In broad fucking daylight.
It's
You're
a
not
classic
safe.
creepy horror thing when children are treating something absolutely terrifying as like normal. It's just like, oh yeah, that's your friend Tommy
Just, like,
Chilton.
don't mess with that. You
Don't
know what you're doing,
talk
but
to
you're so
that. Looks
stupid.
like Satan. What are you talking about?
Why is Cerberus the dog from Greek mythology in Christian hell?
See that I'm fine with that because it's something
she's
she
just
made up.
muddling it together.
See, like that.
I was fine with that later.
That kind of stuff. The movie. Here's what I think to me is frustrating about the movie is that it almost has a lot of good concepts. Where like I like that idea of this sister trying to trick her brother and she's coming up with all this mythology.
When that reveal happened, I was like, oh, that makes
and
a
you
lot
could
more
even
sense.
you can even have that make sense in the end if hell as a concept is just like you manifest it yourself essentially, like whatever hell is to them is what happens.
And because she has projected that
She's
in a
projecting
child's
it.
mind, that is what makes it.
Yeah, that is what makes it real. So I like those concepts.
That is what they're going for, but it's not.
Exactly.
But
like
here's
the idea.
Here's the problem with all that. I agree. Those are neat ideas. This is a cursed film.
Yeah.
I think I would have preferred this movie if I just watched the movie. If they just made
that's
Antrum.
what my ultimate point is that the documentary cursed
takes
film
away
part
from
of it is the part that really takes away from me.
Yeah, well, that's what I like. The inserts of the people being tortured. I think
If they would have just focused on Antrum as their concept completely and just really fleshed that out, I think they could have made something good.
Yeah.
It's something that people wouldn't like, but something I think would be good.
I also like the reveal when he's like, no, but I met him. What do you mean? And like the payoff to that is like, he told me that you would try and trick me, and I was like, he was like, how? Trick you how? With the collar. And then she just has the. You're like, I was like, that's cool. I like that. That's cool.
I kind of like the shadow people.
Yeah.
Where there's like all these. I wish there was more of that.
I wish there was more.
There's so many little things in the movie where you're just like, what is that? Like,
that's like really great concepts, but then like there's so
the
few
kind of
and
stuff
far
I'm into.
between that
they're not greater than the
that would also be something that could show you going deeper. Again, if you're making Antrum as a solo movie by itself, you could show them going deeper in hell by having more and more of the shadow
they should not have done this stupid cursed film crap.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, if it was just
that
a regular
documentary
movie.
stuff, it's like, did they do that after the fact? Like,
no, I think
that was the whole idea.
Yeah, I think that was the whole idea.
Well, it killed any investment I could have had in the movie because I'm like, oh, this is just a fake movie. I can't get invested. I can't believe it's real because I know this is a fake movie.
It's a fake
inside a movie.
Do you believe that film can kill you?
I believe that something could mess you up forever.
It's like a decent letter in a shitty envelope. Like,
or it's a decent letter just hanging out of a gross dog's mouth or something instead of in an envelope. It's like, oh, my dog delivered it to you, and you have to take it out and wipe the spit off.
What I think, I wasn't against the mockumentary idea, and I think that's still a possible interesting idea. But I think the issue is there are more ways to like make you feel cursed after the movie. And one of those is not having a mockumentary at the end of the movie.
That's what I thought was like, because it literally said you just watched Antrum, and it's like with all that setup with the documentary stuff being like, oh, you're cursed if you watch it, and then it just says you just watched Antrum, whatever, and then it ends. Like, that would be way better.
Then you're just like, I feel like I could be cursed. Like if that's the last thing it leaves you with, it's like, oh, dude.
Instead, it ends with just garbage. Nothing documentary stuff. It's like, did you know that there was a bunch of
that if you put plastic on it with some of the scratches on there?
Oh, dude, that was freaking Baphomet. He's always a clown.
He freaking just scratched it with his nail.
You wouldn't even freaking believe this. Back in like the 1600s, he freaking killed the whole town. The Baphomet's always doing shit like this.
Something I thought would have been really cool if they did. All right, and so it is. She's reading the thing, and then it cuts to it, and it's an empty book.
Well, okay.
I would have been like,
this is something I
why
thought
is
at
it
the
an empty
beginning.
book? And then it showed the kids.
At the beginning, I did not expect the sister to actually be the sister. I thought the sister was a demon tricking the brother into going into the woods, and that she had been dead and possessed by a demon or Satan or
that could have been
like,
cool.
And so like is tricking him to get into hell to damn his soul.
They could have done a thing where maybe the audience was keyed into it a little sooner that she had faked the book. Like maybe there's a shot where she is like finishing writing something early on where it's just kind of like tipping the hand that's happening, and then later on she's like, look, I made it up, and like I didn't even finish to this page, and then she turns the page and there's a page there like something that she didn't do. And then she flips it again, and it's just like...
And it's in someone else's handwriting.
Yeah, and it's completely different.
That's cool.
Yeah, that could have been cool. The movie is enjoyable to the point where I'm like, I'm not sitting here just like miserable talking about it.
Honestly, it sits with me fine.
Yeah.
Because slow movies, again...
I would never watch it again.
No, I probably wouldn't see it again, especially because, again, the documentary thing ruins it.
They should have killed that kid. I'm not even joking. If they killed that kid...
Child murder is great.
If they had killed that kid, I think that I would have loved this movie. Like, because an ending like that would have made the entire rest of it
It would have been
it.
a 6.1 instead of 5.1, dude.
But
if
anyway,
the stuff that we've talked about interests you at all, maybe by the end, then sure. But like ultimately,
Like-
it is be prepared for a very boring movie.
Yeah.
Like if you like boring movies, boring slow horror movies, then
If any of this sounds interesting, I think it's worth watching just from like a filmmaking perspective.
if you've seen all the other horror movies,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Watch it while drinking or like doing something else.
Also, I said
heavy drugs.
I said with Horror in the High Desert that like don't be afraid to rewind. Don't be afraid to just skip the entire like intro documentary bit. It's pretty skippable.
And then maybe watch like the first 30 minutes of Antrum on like 2x speed. It sounds like we're just sick of these horror documentaries.
It's too bad we have one left.
Yeah.
Do you want to pick yours on camera? You got the floor.
Assault on Precinct 13. It has to be a horror.
It has to be a horror documentary or found footage.
So there's a movie called Rosemary's Baby where I found the movie.
He's already just blow up the camera. He's
well, I'll blow up the camera.
blow out the camera. He's not gonna. Do you want to say something spooky before you blow it out?
I can't
He's
decide.
not gonna think of anything. He's not gonna just blow it out.
We'll see you. We'll see.
Should blow the camera. Blow the camera.
We'll see you
when we watch The Shining or Alien.
We'll see you next week for Spooky for the Week. Next time.
Spooky fork.
Spooky
right.
fork.
Oh, wait.
Ooh, this spooky of the week might be cursed. That was cursed.
That was cursed.
That was cursed.
You're gonna die. This video is cursed.